Hey everyone, this is Daryl, aka Liberty Thunder, with Destiny News Link. And guys, you are not going to believe what is going on right now. Okay, well, not right now, but coming up really soon. So, what is this scripture here in Amos 8:11? Saying, "Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord God, when I will send a famine on the land, not a famine of bread or of a thirst for water, but a famine of hearing the words of the Lord." What does that got to do with today's video? Well, let's get into that. In March, guys, listen, in March, the United Kingdom is going to start enforcing this Online Safety Act, okay? Anybody remember this? The UK's been after people for a while. I'm so shocked, literally shocked, that they are considered part of the free world. I cannot imagine how anybody can justify calling the United Kingdom these days and some other places, but right now I'm focusing on the United Kingdom. I am shocked that they're considered to be a member of the free world. Truthfully. You can't say anything they don't like. Well, where can you find that at in some of these countries, huh? In the free world? I mean, literally, they will throw you in jail. Okay? So, anybody remember this back in 2023? Right here, when YouTube had barred Russell Brand based on media allegations and UK government request, but Rumble refuses to demonstrate him. Who stands with Rumble and Russell Brand? Well, in 2024, at the very end and going into 2025, I'm going to say Rumble and Russell Brand. Praise the Lord, Russell Brand got saved. He is coming out about his faith. I applaud him for that. You know, regardless of what denomination you are, guys, come on. You know, there are some people that will really nitpick on other people. And just give it a rest, okay? Focus on the Lord and throw stones at people when you have some stones to throw, okay? Listen, I'm not going to, you're nobody's judge and I'm nobody's judge. And, so many people say, he ain't saved. You know what? Listen, you can't even say that Jesus is Lord without the help of the Holy Spirit. Okay? So listen. The United Kingdom is calling this the Online Safety Act, and I think there's another term for it. But it's really turning into the Global Online Safety Act. And the question is this tyranny or is it safeguarding a digital age? Now, guys, don't forget, there's been a big push here for a while, and people with aluminum foil hats who have been proven right over and over and over again have said that, or they're saying it openly anyway, but they're pushing for a digital ID, a global digital ID. And that can have some serious implications, guys. Seriously, no joke. But listen, the United Kingdom's Online Safety Act has ignited a fiery debate about its implications beyond its stated goal of protecting users online. Okay? Guys, some critics argue that this legislative move is not merely about internet safety, but part of a broader tyrannical globalist agenda aimed at undermining traditional structures like, I don't know, family and God's design. Absolutely, and we'll get into that. So listen, I just want to remind you, you can join me at destinynewslink.com. It's a new blog. Everything that I have up here for Destiny Newslink is new, so I would greatly appreciate it if you're able to give a like, a follow, and subscribe. I would love to be able to go live on YouTube. So I'll need 2,000 subscribers for that, guys. So please, if you enjoy this, please give it a like. Please subscribe. and please give them a comment down below. Greatly appreciate that. And listen, this video is mainly for Christians who are, looking and watching for the signs of the end. And listen, guys, this is part of it, and we'll get into that. But the biblical prophecies talk about this. We started off with Amos, okay? The book of Amos. So anyway, please join me at destinynewslink.com. We're also on Telegram. There's a link in the article. I'll post it in the description below. It's written in gold. There's a gold link there that you can click and just find where we're at online and give us, join us wherever you're at in social media online. We're new, so help us grow. Greatly appreciate that. So listen, at the heart of this contention is the concern that the act, by giving authorities extensive control over online content, could be used to reshape societal norms. The legislation's broad powers to define and regulate harmful content might extend to censoring discussions or expressions that uphold traditional family values or religious beliefs, particularly those rooted in Christian doctrine. And guys, once again, I'm going to point right at the United Kingdom. Remember this? This was posted on August 19, 2024. Never mind free speech. In Britain, you're not free to silently think certain things or certain thoughts in your own head without being arrested. This woman here was arrested for silent prayer outside of abortion clinic. And the quote here from Lord Frost is, "It's incredible that people have been arrested for thought crimes in modern Britain." And I'm not surprised here. I mean, I was when I first started seeing this stuff really coming rolling out years ago, but it has escalated drastically, guys. United Kingdom, man, is just getting out there, okay? But listen, this is affecting not just Great Britain. Remember, people in Britain are being arrested left and right all the time for just making posts. Look it up, because I sure ain't making this up. So it's also affecting everywhere, every website, basically, because due to whatever treaties that United Kingdom has with other countries, which is worldwide, they can really put some sanctions on and try to enforce their laws on other countries, which is absolute globalism. Okay, these are globalists doing this. But listen, websites here are coming up in March. I'm afraid you're going to see a lot of them just shut down. The platforms will shut down or whatever, or you're going to end up having some serious spyware going on in your life online, okay? Forums dedicated to niche interest, local community platforms, and volunteer-run sites are particularly vulnerable. And the cost associated with compliance, from legal consultations to hiring staff for content moderation, are often prohibited for these entities. Critics argue that the act, while well-intentioned, overlooks the practical realities of smaller digital spaces, essentially driving them out of existence. Okay? Now listen up to this.
Then we look at the bill, and what is specified is a regime that would give Ofcom the power to demand that everyone in the UK download spyware that checks their messages before they're sent against a database of what is permissible to say and send and what is not permissible. And that is a precedent that authoritarian regimes are looking to the UK to set, to point to a liberal democracy that was the first to expand surveillance in the terms of the UN Human Rights Commissioner. This is unprecedented. unprecedented paradigm-shifting surveillance, and paradigm-shifting not in the good way.
And what do you guys think about that? That was posted by the Open Rights Group, okay? You can find them on Twitter.
When we look at the bill and what is specified.
Yeah, listen to this one more time, okay, guys? Because this is right on. Some of the pressure that's being put on, and just keep in mind, some of these larger and especially smaller website platforms are not going to be able to, like, they're creating a two-tier class program here. You're either going to be rich or you're going to be dirt poor. Okay? Because guess what? The people that can afford, the corporations that can afford all the moderation efforts and software while you're typing to make sure you can even post it, because they're going to be like afraid that they're going to be held responsible for what you do because of Britain. Okay? This is not a joke. This is actually really being implemented out there, and you know, you don't have to look so silly anymore wearing that tinfoil hat. Not at all. And listen, one of the notable examples of one of the places that's shutting down already is this website, LFGSS. Okay? It's a web forum hosting service, supports over 300 community sites, and its owner decided to shut down operations rather than navigate the disproportionate high, and I say this in quotes, disproportionately high personal liability, okay, introduced by the act. This decision reflects a broader trend where smaller websites lacking resources to implement the act's measures are opting to close rather than risk legal repercussions. And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, I have seen it. I have been looking around at some of the platforms, and especially in forums here lately, because I am looking to start a forum for End Times Faith. It's going to be endtimesfaith.com. I've got the domain name, and I'm getting the forum service set up for it now. It's in progress, so I'll let you know when that comes up. But yeah, that forum has taken notice of this and is addressing it. That forum platform is taking notice of that. I'm going to repeat this one more time. And it's a huge, well-known forum platform. And I'll be actually using it. Okay? But it has taken notice of this article in particular, and is discussing it. Everyone that owns a website that has any interaction whatsoever with people needs to be paying attention. And that is no joke. And let's go here. This is interesting.
Now, on to the story. The United Kingdom passed the Online Safety Act over a year ago, and it seems that the government has now gotten around to spelling out how it plans to use these powers that it has been granted, and there are three things that I want to call out. In the draft statement of strategic priorities for the UK government, over 10 types of content are listed as priorities for enforcement. Many of these are probably not controversial, but the list does include things like, quote, illegal disinformation, unquote, or
illegal disinformation. Okay, the top 10 priority of this bill, okay, of this whole thing, one of them is illegal information. What?
Hate that incites violence towards specific individuals or groups. Does anybody have a definition for what that means?
For groups. For groups. Meaning, possibly. Now, we don't know because the verbiage is so vague, and that's what everybody's so concerned about. For groups. Think about that. think about if you say something like, you know, I'm kind of concerned about the culture of the Muslim community that is kind of clashing with my culture in my Christian community, and there seems to be some things going on that I don't really like, and then you start saying some stuff that you don't like about it, which may someone might get angry. You might cause someone to get angry because of how you felt, what was going on. And they're going to hold you responsible because you said something about a group that might have just got someone a little angry. Emotionally angry, period. Okay? Now you think that this might be just like, oh, well, that's only if something happens. No, they whatever they determine may be insightful, is what, that's what it's going to turn out to be. Okay, now check this out. Let's go back.
What that means, as an American, it seems like almost anything could fall into those categories. Feels like the start of a real slippery slope for me. Okay, so that's a little bit concerning, but the statement goes a little bit further and claims that the aim is to prevent harm from occurring in the first place. So
right there. Okay, I have said this over the years many, many, many times. Back when I was saying things way so early, okay, back when everything looked normal to everybody, I kept saying that this crime prevention laws are really the people that supported it, because it sounded good back then, it was just like getting your foot in the door. I'm like, nope, that's just them getting their foot in the door, getting you used to the idea that you can get arrested before a crime ever actually was performed. Yeah, in the name of crime prevention. So, in other words, let's say you drank, okay, and I do not, don't drink, but if you drink so much and all you did was get in your car and turn on not even turn on the engine, but just turn on the electricity part of the car just to hear the radio, you could get arrested for drunk driving, even though you didn't even have the engine turned on, because you could have drove off and caused an accident and caused some damage. Okay? They can arrest you for that. That's crime prevention. Now think about that mindset being applied to your online life. Okay? Now we're getting into, what's that movie called, where he was kind of predicting the who was it? You know what I'm talking about, right? The movie where the guy was he can foresee the future and people were getting arrested. He was an agent and people were getting arrested before crimes even happened. I forgot what the name of the movie was, but it had that really famous star on there. That's what we're coming to. It's getting crazy. And then they can just say, well, we knew, because eventually, I'm telling you, Klaus Schwab and all these people have been talking about this. They're going to upload your brain to the internet of all things. Eventually, they're going to catch your brain waves in some way, shape, or form. They're going to snatch it. And the next thing you know, they're going to know what you're thinking. And then you might get arrested because of what you were thinking. Okay? That's where it's coming. That's where it's going. Mark my words. I'm telling you.
Place. So are the British aiming to muzzle people before they even say anything?
Yes.
Prevent harm from occurring in the first place. So are the British aiming, but the statement goes a little bit further and claims that the aim is to prevent harm from occurring in the first place. So are the British aiming to muzzle people before they even
say
anything? I know I'm not British, but my goodness, that's chilling. And lastly, and potentially the most troubling aspect is that the act apparently requires platform providers to use, quote, accredited technology, unquote, which some have interpreted as requiring an encryption backdoor. Apparently, this latest statement doesn't even address those concerns. Yikes. You know,
accredited technology. Okay, so let's break that down to what that is. That means somebody who is, I'm pretty sure nobody in the planet would actually trust, if they knew who it was, had determined that only certain selected groups that followed their invasive guidelines and allowed certain people that you don't know and you probably wouldn't like, and with people you don't even approve of. I mean, I'm sorry, but a lot of these people may get a lot of votes, but they're usually only voting for the person they're voting against the person that they like least. Okay, most votes occur that way. They're just voting against the person they dislike the most. Okay, so that's why government, like in our government, like Congress, I think has like a 5% approval rating. I mean, it's low. I don't know how low it is, but it's low. But yeah, accredited technology. Okay, so like that one lady said earlier, there may be AI watching what you're typing in real time and stopping you before you even post it. Wow. What?
I've been to London and Scotland, and I love it over there. I think the people are great. The history is just interesting. But, oh my goodness, this is not the way, guys. This is not the way forward. But that's just my opinion from the other side of the Atlantic. I'm curious what others think. Please leave a comment down below. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you next time.
Okay, well, let's do that. All right, so that's modern tech breakdown. But
we also want to get to some other top stories
that provided that bit of information. Appreciate that. But yeah, that's where we're at. Yikes. I mean, oh my gosh. Okay. So, yeah. Listen, guys. For Christians, this poses a unique challenge. Traditional Christians' teachings on various moral and lifestyle issues could be scrutinized under the new regulations. For instance, discussions around marriage, sexuality, or even broader theological debates might be flagged as potentially violating norms of inclusivity or equality or equity or whatever kind of weird word they want to throw in there to mask what they really mean, okay? Depending on the interpretation by platform moderators or automated systems. Guess what, guys? Accredited technologies. Think about that word. That word just keeps sticking out of my head. That also makes me wonder, are moderators, human moderators, also going to have to be accredited and licensed or whatever? The potential of this is kind of but hey, this is the first step forward to any of that. Okay? It really is. And hey, you know what? All you people out there that's been putting on your tinfoil hats aluminum foil hats in the last couple of years, I had mine on for a bit longer. And listen, I sounded weird then, but 20 years later, my friends, my family, they apologized for saying that I sounded ridiculous. And I'm sure a lot of you are getting that kind of experience. And possibly a lot of you listening now kind of did that to other people. But hey, it doesn't matter really. We live and we learn. Okay? We walk forward. But listen, don't forget, okay, that the kind of problems, the unique challenges that we're facing right now with all this, don't forget that during the COVID situation, that white evangelist, and they made sure to point out white evangelist, right-leaning evangelist Christians were sometimes being accused of promoting misinformation regarding efficacy of the vaccines or the nature of the virus itself, and they were accused of like, you were telling people to pray about it before taking it rather than simply complying with scientific guidance. I mean, that's where we're at. Compliance. And as Christians, and as people in general, we're faced with some rather difficult times. And listen, also, I just want to remind you real quick, please like and subscribe to this channel. I would greatly appreciate it. We also have a Discord channel and Telegram, and I'm on Facebook, Twitter. So, yeah, greatly appreciate any kind of social media reach. Greatly appreciate that. Hopefully get to know some of you guys. All right, so let me just ask you. Okay, does anybody remember? Let's see, who was it? This guy. You remember this guy? Okay, the Metropolitan Police Chief in Britain or England or whatever, somewhere in the United Kingdom. All right, you remember this guy? All right, I'm going to play what he says here. And it's going to kind of shock you if you haven't seen this before. Okay? So, listen and listen good. Okay? These are officials. And this was before, like, they were saying it a while back. Because they passed this, I think, about a year ago or whatever. And they're just now starting to enforce it starting in March. And everybody was like tripping out, like when this guy first said this, like, what? You think you're going to arrest Americans? You can't do that from Britain. Man, you watch and see how these globalists play this game. I'm telling you, you watch how these globalists play this game. Okay? But, the argument extends to the idea that such laws could be part of a larger global movement where individual countries are nudged or pressured into adopting policies that align with a one-size-fits-all globalist vision. These are all globalists, okay? Don't think in terms of just Britain or left and right. There's globalist, really a lot of globalist-minded kind of people on the left, and there's quite a few on the right. Now, not all of them. It's pretty split on the right. But that's why the globalists, they can say, oh, the right's just like the left. Yeah, some of them are, because they have the same mindset of being globalist, and they will push this kind of agenda. It's really crazy. But, the vision that critics claim prioritizes a uniform cultural narrative over the diverse, often faith-based values held by different communities. Okay? However, supporters of the act, they kind of counter that these claims are exaggerated. They argue that the legislation aims primarily to protect the vulnerable groups, especially children. Okay, it's always going to be for the protection of children. You got to throw that in there, or to pass everything. And to be the big highlight and the big headline. But the rest of these other 9 things, the 10 priorities, they're not going to highlight those. All right. But the supporters of this stuff will, saying that they're going to protect children from exploitation and harmful content. And that all sounds great. I mean, who doesn't want to protect children from exploitation and harmful content? The supporters maintain that the act does not inherently target religious or family values, but they say they seek to ensure a safer digital environment for all. And for all, they mean the hive. Okay, because you're not going to be considered one of them in the all. You're going to be a separatist if you don't follow along. You're going to be, branded as the dark sheep of the family or whatever. But yeah, let me remind you what this guy says right here. Listen to this.
Do that. Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the.
He said, in case you didn't understand the accent, he said, being a keyboard warrior.
We will continue to do that. Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the law. You can be guilty of offences of incitement, of stirring up racial hatred. There are numerous terrorist offences regarding the sort of publishing of material. All of those offences are in play if people are provoking hatred and violence on the streets, and we will come after those individuals just as we will physically confront on the streets the thugs.
Okay, provoking hatred. Again, provoking hatred. He didn't just say provoking violence. He said provoking hatred. Well, guess what? You may be saying something that's bothering you about a certain group or culture or whatever that has kind of suddenly invaded your neighborhood, and it did not jive with your culture, and it did not jive with that. And man, if you start saying stuff about it, and you can see that there in Britain, if you start saying stuff about this, you are being hateful. You are inciting hatred. You're getting people to hate people, not giving them a fair chance, that kind of thing, right? Giving them a fair chance. Anyway, but yeah, that's where this whole mindset's at. But listen again.
We will physically confront on the streets the thugs and the obs who are causing the problems for communities. All of those offences are in play if people are provoking hatred and violence on the streets, and we will come after those individuals just as we will physically confront on the streets the thugs and the obs who are taking. Warrior does not make you safe from the law. You can be guilty of offences of incitement, of stirring up racial hatred. There are numerous terrorist offences regarding the sort of publishing of material. All of those offences are in play if people are provoking hatred and violence on the streets, and we will come after those individuals just as we will physically confront on the streets the thugs and the obs who are causing the problems for communities.
Now, I know somewhere else I had seen an official say basically the same thing, and I thought it was him. But he specified, no matter where you're at in the world. Okay, now I don't know if it was that guy, but it was somebody else. I remember actually hearing that. So, yeah. Okay, guys, but let's go forward, okay? Because we're going to get into about how hypocritical this is, okay?
In the UK, hate speech laws exist in the form of the Public Order Act 1986 and the Communications Act 2003. 3,000 people are arrested each year in the UK for comments posted online that have been deemed offensive, and in some cases have even been imprisoned for jokes. If we're going to tackle this problem, we might start by repealing Section 127 of the Communications Act, which criminalizes online speech that can be deemed grossly offensive. Of course, no attempt is ever made to define grossly offensive in the legislation, so anyone could be vulnerable.
Limits to online free speech face further threat by the 2023 Online Safety Bill. Sub judice laws restrict laws regarding ongoing court trials. And in March this year, Scotland introduced a new hate crime act that could send top Scots comics like Billy Connolly to jail.
Like, we just kind of went over that, okay? So, listen, I bet you would love to hear a lot about what Britons are going through right now. But guess what? You really can't. And it's going to be very rare that you do, because they cannot say. And if they do, they're going to get a knock on the door. And it's one of those you'll own nothing and be happy kind of situations. You're going to be happy because you're not going to be allowed to say that you're not. Okay, period. But, listen, this is hypocritical. One of the primary criticisms is that the Act's approach to privacy and encryption, while it mandates the platforms to scan for illegal content potentially compromising user privacy, the same government has been known to advocate for strong encryption to protect its communications. Not too long ago, I remember here in the U.S., it was like, oh yeah, don't I mean, it came from the what Homeland or something, but it was like it was an announcement by an official government, our official government here in America, that you are going to send text and such like that at your own risk. Make sure you have encrypted. Make sure that all your texts are encrypted. Does anybody remember that? You know, it's like the same people saying that are the same people saying, we are wanting to break down the encryption. You know, encrypt your communication, but we're not going to respect that. You know, we want you to do it. We really do. We want you to do it. We just don't want the other countries listening in because we're jealous. We want to. We want to control what you say. We don't want the other countries to tell you, control what you say or manipulate what you say. This is all getting crazy. It really is. Like, it's so hypocritical. Lord, this does get frustrating, Lord. We just ask for your peace, Lord. But listen, guys, this duality, it raises questions about government's true intentions. Is the act genuinely about safety, or is it a tool for surveillance under the guise of protection? I mean, get ready to put your aluminum foil hats back on for this one. As aren't we all aware that there's been a huge push for a global digital ID? Look, guys, encryption, yet global digital ID. How many times have you seen our highest security get breached? And they want to tell you that you should trust them with your digital information. I mean, I know, guys. I know they you can't do anything on Facebook or anything like that. They're watching. I get it. No matter you use Gmail, I get it. We all knew since 9/11 what they're doing. Okay, but the thing. Whoa.
So, what are the restrictions to free speech in the UK?
Oh, by the way, this came from Tired MDN BLGGR. I have no idea what that's supposed to say. Tired something. I don't even know if I should try to. Anyway. But listen, guys, just in case you didn't know, that in the wake of the United Kingdom's Online Safety Act, the United States has also introduced its own legislation measure, and it's known as the Kids Online Safety Act. KOSA. KOSA. Look it up. And it mirrors many of the United Kingdom's objectives to protect young internet users. Okay? Now, this bill proposed in the U.S. Congress, I think it was already approved by the Senate. I think the Senate did it, though. It aims to create a safer digital environment for our children and teenagers by imposing new responsibilities on social media platforms and tech companies. Okay, listen, guys, all this sounds great, but, you got to understand a couple things from different angles. There are security issues at hand, and there's also cost at hand. Think about it. A lot of these platforms are free, but when they start having to fork out a whole bunch of money for all the kind of accredited technology that's going to be required, because they ain't going to just hand that out. They're going to have to pay for it. They're probably going to have to pay high money for accredited moderators. Okay? And do you think they're just going to say, well, I think the advertisers wouldn't mind paying an extra $1 billion a month? No, they're probably going to share the cost down, and all the free stuff that you see probably isn't going to be so free. Okay? Man, almost free anything is dying. Okay? But yeah, you were always the product. I get it. I know someone's saying that in their head right now. I heard that. Okay. Now let's go on to this, guys. All right. This is from Good Morning Britain. Okay, 2 weeks ago, this was posted.
Do you think that is? What's the profit margin for them? What's the profit motive for them in carrying this kind of dreadful material?
Well, look, I think it's because we haven't had any regulation. They're global companies. There hasn't been any action in the US. Most of them are based in America. But fundamentally, they do make their money from engaging us all online. The more time we spend, the more advertising revenue comes in.
Clickbait.
Yeah, and so safety hasn't been a priority, but that changes today.
Can you...
So she just said basically that big companies are exploiting everyone because you are the product on free services and stuff like that. You're the product that advertisers want to get in front of. And it just makes marketing sense, guys. This is not just about it's not just about child safety and stuff like that. Okay, now we're getting into the economy. We're getting into economics, okay? Now they're saying the concept of a free market enterprise, which makes monetary sense. You know, you want to do a demographics whenever you're going to start a business to see who your clientels are and grab a niche, right? Like Disneyland. You know, it's a service basically surrounded on the idea of children having fun and parents want to make sure that their children have fun. So Disney does all this stuff for kids, you know, movies, TV shows. Disney puts out and copyrights or trademarks all these dolls and everything that they sell. So, you know, that's a niche, okay? And it's a free market enterprise to actually determine what your target customers are going to be, what your base is going to be, so you can set prices, you can decide on expansion, you can do all these things, right? This is marketing research. This right here is the beginning of the idea of destroying free market enterprise, market research, and everything like this. Now, listen to what she says. Let me back up just 1 second, and we'll get into it.
Yeah, and so safety hasn't been a priority, but that changes today.
Can you go after them if they are based in America? Does Ofcom have that kind of power?
Yeah, we do. We can charge.
Oh, did you hear that? That one question. Does Ofcom, okay, which is that British law, can it go after Americans? And what did she say? Yeah.
Does Ofcom have that kind of power?
Yeah, we do. We can charge fines up to 10% of their global turnover. So that is huge. And, you know, I hope that's the last resort, to be honest. What we're saying to the industry now is, you know, you've got a choice. Either start to make these changes, and I really think we're going to be looking back on this in a few years' time and going, how did we tolerate this for so long? So come into line with the rules.
How did we tolerate? Okay, listen, these are the people that are forcing toleration. Look at how hypocritical this is. These are the people forcing toleration. These same Britons are allowing people from other countries to come in and mesh with other cultures that other cultures did not invite in. Okay, it was these people that believe what she does, that believes what she believes. Says, hey, this is a great idea, you know? And one day we're going to look back and wonder, how did we tolerate these other people for so long? You see, it's for everyone until you're not in the hive. Okay, this is a whole hive mind mindset. This is brainwashing. This is compulsory. Anything compulsory is the actual synonym, literal synonym, or antonym, sorry. No, synonym. No, antonym. Antonym, sorry guys. It is the antonym of freedom. Okay? Compulsion is the antonym of freedom. The complete, exact, mirrored opposite. It is the opposite.
Or you will hear from Ofcom with enforcement action starting in the spring.
Okay. Ellen, you are...
Starting in the spring.
passionate about this because you have felt the pain that all parent doesn't want to feel, the loss of your beloved son.
Okay, so here comes the marketing, okay? Now listen, this stuff is real, sure. The bad stuff does happen. There's cyberbullying, there's doxing, there's all kinds of stuff that happens that really nobody really likes, okay? Nobody with a decent mindset really likes that, okay? And that's what they're going to use. They're now going to exploit. Okay, now it's going to be their turn to exploit. But you don't call it that when it comes to them, though. Okay? You don't call it that. And you better not, basically, paint it in the light that it's in. Or don't paint it in that light. Okay? You won't be tolerated. Okay? Let's put it this way. These people preach tolerance, but you won't be tolerated if you're not in the hive mind. Think about the Tower of Babel. The whole world was trying to come together as one hive mind and saying, let us as a human race come together and be greater than the creator, basically, and that's what they're doing. That's what we're doing now. We're trying to, this is all about, dude, seriously, this is all spiritual. If you get down to the root of it, and I can put this out on a video at a later time, but this is all rooted in spirituality, okay? This is all about changing God's creation, anything that he has created which is natural. They are trying to modify it so they can copyright it and trademark it and own it. And the courts have already ruled that if they change the molecular structure of something and they have modified it, they can then trademark it and become property, their property. So guess what happens? Guess what can potentially happen? This doesn't come out in the open yet. But if they modified you in some way, guess what they can claim? They've done that with food already. Farmers aren't even allowed to farm unless they, use a particular seed in some cases. So because they get permission, kind of thing, because they modified the seed and they modified this other stuff, and they made a whole new creation that they are gonna farm and you are gonna eat. And food is no longer a natural thing that anybody can own and have if you're farming. And they, believe me, they're going to come after your home farms too, because they don't want that. Okay, the hive mind does not want that. These are cultists. Okay, and when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, you're going to see these are not pro-life people. These are occultists of death. Okay, they promote death. They life prevention is promoting death. I'm sorry, if you can have the potential of life and you say no, that is not pro-life. You're being pro-death. Just be honest with it. Okay? And they're talking about how the world's so overpopulated and the best thing for the planet is to get rid of, a certain percentage. I think that the percentage that they gave was 90%. I'm not joking. Look it up. It's out there.
What do you think of these measures? And
measures. She's probably going to talk about one measure. But the scheme there was to say measures. There's top 10 priorities. Remember that from the other video. There's more measures than one. She's going to talk about one that you're really going to like.
And what more should be happening?
I think from what you're saying is great and it sounds really positive. I think from a bereaved parent's perspective, it's a shame we're not doing more together. So that, for example, this is a legal issues, not harmful issues, my understanding, and then the children's code when that comes out. So it's just a phase, isn't it, stage? And I think everybody had just hoped that you would come out with this and enforce everything all in one go. and then come down hard on regulators to actually make a difference.
And why has that been? Why have you not been able to do that?
Yeah, so we've got to basically you're going to hear a lot more from us in the new year. So in January, we're going to come out with rules on the age checks that we expect, so that we know where children are, because you can't protect them unless you know.
Okay, guys. So you heard it here. In December, it's one more day left before the new year. Starting in early January, the first thing you're probably going to hear a lot about is age checking. Okay? It's coming, guys. It's rolling out.
Where the kids are. And then in April, we'll finish our children's code. And that's about the wider experience of teenagers, particularly on social media, where at the moment, pornography, suicide and self-harm material, violent content, dangerous challenges, all of that is freely available. And again, that needs to change. So in April, that will be the moment when we're finalising those rules.
By April, okay, I thought it was by March. By April, they're going to be finalizing these measures. Okay, so listen. I thought it was going to be March. I heard that somewhere. So my bad if I got that wrong. But listen, guys, seriously, listen. Again, I'm going to tell you, what did God create? God created man and a woman, right? And then the woman gave birth, and next thing you know, there's a family, right? And he told the people to go and multiply the earth. He wanted a full earth. God wanted a full earth. These people will complain about a full earth because they don't have that mindset. They have the mindset of Babel, of the Tower of Babel. We know what happened then, right? And so, listen, guys, they are trying to replace the family. This is a good attempt right here. This is a smart attempt on their part. It's genius, actually. It's evil genius, but it's genius. This is like a subtle, but yet direct attempt on taking over the family. Because guess what? Now they're going to give you some examples, excuse me, of where there were bad mothers and fathers who didn't monitor their children's behavior, and their children got in some sort of harm's way, which is sad. I do agree with that. I do. Okay, but listen, overall, I still respect more than anything God's hierarchy, God's plan for this planet. And that was to multiply, and that was that the parents, the mother and the father, had dominion and control over their own children. They were the priesthood of their house, okay, of their children. They taught their children, not the state. They monitored their children, not the state. There are things you can do as parents, guys. Instead of going this far as to where this globalist here is going, you can simply change the settings on your children's phones. But then you're going to send them to guess where? Another state area that is also trying to override parental rights. You send them there with other kids who aren't raised the way you're trying to raise your kids, and they get influenced by those kids thanks to people like this who make it really hard on you to keep your children at home, because the way they run the darn economy, it takes more than one income these days to make it from check to check, for the most part. Okay? Thanks to people like this with a hive mind that thinks they know more than God, that thinks they know more than you. They think they know what's best for you more than you do. Okay? They are trying to be your parent. And ultimately, you will find that a man will come up and try to be your God. And that is coming, but they're setting the stage, just like John the Baptist did with Jesus. John the Baptist paved the way for Jesus to come. He was baptizing people unto repentance. These people are baptizing you with controls and death and population control and hypocrisy. I mean, the hypocrisy is unbelievable, because on one hand, they're complaining that the world's population is declining and that you need to reproduce. On the other hand, they're like, everybody should get an abortion, like make it so easy and wonderful and make it sound like it's a great thing. They realize that there's problems. So then what they do is because the ultimate plan is, okay, because there's one set of people that is not declining in population. As a matter of fact, they are the fastest rate population growing people on the planet, and that's the Muslims, the Arabic Muslims. They are outpacing 3-1 the rest of the world. And I think they said by 2050, the majority of the world will be Arabic Muslims. It's in their religion to multiply, which is what God told his people to do. Okay? And his people are listening to these people. Not all of them, but some of them that claim that they love God are. Okay, so let's just get real with that. And I'm not trying to be condescending here. This is a tough topic to go through because seriously, you can just almost feel the spirit that's attacking God. You can feel the spirit that's attacking Christians and God's people. And it's not a good spirit. Okay? But listen, I don't like her ideas. I don't like her mindset. But I will pray for her. And I will love her. I don't have to like what she does. But I want this. Well, you know what can change this planet for the good of those that love God and call according to his purpose is that people like her get saved. Guys, we don't need to be fighting these people. We need to be praying for these people. We need to be loving these people. And that takes a lot of maturity in the spirit. We can all grow. Trust me, it took me a minute and a half to get to that point because I was always so angry about the things that they were doing. I was even more angry. I think what got me even more angry was that everybody else was saying that I was ridiculous and that I was, some sort of conspiracy theorist, until they realized 20 years later I wasn't that far off the mark. Okay? So I think now when they started coming out and started saying things now that I'm saying, that I was saying 20 years ago, I think that kind of really relieved a burden off my chest. Like, I don't really have to feel this way anymore because now people are getting it and it's less frustrating because of that. But also, in the same token, it's because the more that we get into God, the more that we mature and we get past that. Get to the point in your spiritual life where you can love her. You don't have to love her idea. You don't have to love what she's saying and spewing out of her mouth. But love her. Pray for her. Pray for her to have discernment and to receive Christ. Because if it's God's will that it not be escalated and rushing towards end times, he can stop it at any time. I'm not date setting, but I can tell you that right now we are escalating. Okay, the birth pangs, we've been seeing birth pangs for decades and some pangs for centuries. But we're escalating now into contractions. Escalating towards contractions. We couldn't have said the same thing 10 years ago. We can now. So, guys, we don't know God's time yet. We'll know the God's time when a man comes up and makes a treaty with Israel for 7 years. We'll know then. We can start possibly not the day or the hour, but we'll be close with the month of the season about Jesus' return, because God gave us signs for that to watch for. But we're escalating rapidly towards that with all the other signs. They're escalating. But listen, we don't know when God's time is. And so if it's not God's will, he can stop this at any time. So why don't we consider that? Consider that, and because we love God, let's love her. Okay, the Bible even says that if you have enmity against someone, to leave that, to leave your offering that you're giving before God and go and make peace with that person, and then come back and give your offering to God. Okay, so make peace in your heart that there's people like this, that you're not going to like what they say and you're not going to like what they do, and you may actually even hate what they say and you may actually hate what they do. But mature in the spirit. Try. It's hard, I know. But to love this person. Pray for this person. People like her can be saved if people like me can be.
I mean, you're clearly working on something that sounds very positive. I suppose what Ellen might think is, gosh, all the children that could come to harm between now and April.
I know, look, we've all waited such a long time, you know, for this. And to be fair, the UK has actually introduced laws faster than nearly every other country.
No joke. I think I was pointing that out at the earlier, like UK this, UK that, UK this. UK has definitely took the lead in all this. Okay, King Charles, he's all about that. We've been saying that for a long time. He's all about this, but listen, I know some people think that he's the Antichrist. I don't know how you can say that. I really don't. I mean, I can see where, if you look pretty hard, you can see almost everything does kind of line up with King Charles. But almost. Okay? Almost. And there's a lot that you can really just be like, not really. Okay.
And in some countries, there's nothing to protect kids. So we are moving here, but we've I think gone very fast this year in Ofcom over the past 12 months to finalise the detail. The rest is coming through in the new year, and then we have been preparing all year for the enforcement action. So we will be quick out of the traps on that.
Let's, Ellen. I mean, your poor boy, 14, lost.
Let's go back to this again. Okay, listen, I do feel for her and her boy. I do. But look, this is not a news story. This is an advertisement. This is an ad. You're watching an ad in the format of the news. This is an ad. So she gave you the hard stuff. Now let's go back again and revisit why this has to be so hard. Even though she's not addressing the same thing. She's addressing her kid. She's addressing basically every thought that you have, everything that you say and do should be scrutinized. She's just like, let's just keep kids safe. She's over here like, you better not, do this, young little child of mine who is, that the way she's thinking is way, these two people are not talking about the same thing. Okay, let me just point that out. Although I do believe that she is completely agreeing with her, her role in this ad is to stick to her boy. Okay? And it's a shame. And I would talk about that too as often as I could if something happened to a loved one that I felt like could have been avoided. I can understand and relate to that. But at the same time, I think she also knows this is an ad. She's here for some relief after she just stressed you out with what she said. Let's go back to why this is so important, because of one thing, right?
This is life. Because you think of something that he saw online, some kind of challenge, some incredibly dangerous thing. What would you like to see if you, I mean, you're sitting next to the person here now who can make a difference. What would have helped prevent that?
Well, I don't know it was that, so I've always been very careful that I don't know it was social media. My gut feeling was there's nothing offline, so my gut feeling is it's something he's seen online, but I don't have the right to see his data. And I think that should change. I think, why have we got children agreeing to terms and conditions?
Okay, listen, she doesn't have the right to see her kids' data as a parent, right? I don't know how things are in Britain, but here in America, a parent can create setting changes to make sure that their children doesn't see certain things. Or better yet, hey, how about this? Look, I'm not trying to, I wouldn't want to say this, to make anyone feel bad or anything like that. But also at the same time, unless your kid is away from you, they don't need a phone. Honestly. I think it's important that you give a kid a phone if they're going off on a trip with their school, or even going to school, period. Being away from the parents, just in case there's an emergency, you need to be able to reach your parents, or your parents need to be able to reach your kids if they're worried about something because they heard something on the news. So yeah, that's important. But at the same time, so is changing your settings on your kids' phones and creating passwords, to those settings that your kids can't crack. And don't even get me started on school. I'm just saying that if you do send your kids to school, but she's not going to say that part. She's not going to say that part. She's not going to say, well, I'm concerned about the people that my kid was around when I wasn't around. No, she's going to say, I didn't have access to his data. Like, just, this is an ad.
Conditions at 13 years old, and they're signing basically a legal contract on the social media sites, which I don't understand why a child would be able to. Then, we don't read them when you click you've read your terms and conditions, and I don't think children do.
There's two really big questions off the back of that. Yeah. The first one is, why can't a mother like this access what her son was looking at? So she finds out what really happened, if anything.
She didn't have to access it, though. Really, she could have just prevented it.
But probably did. She can find out. Why can't she have access? Why won't the big tech firms let her look? That's the first thing. And secondly, how do you enforce age enforcement? How do you stop a 13-year-old lying and saying that they're 18? What do you do?
I got an idea. If you're concerned about it, if you're really concerned about anything bad happening with that phone, don't give them one. Give them a dumb phone, not a smartphone with access to the internet or something. Just give them a regular phone, the old school kind, the flip phones.
Yeah. So look, on the first of those, I think the government's looking at that very actively right now. It would need a change to the law to require them to keep the data so that you can then have access to it. And coroners are now able to request it. That's changed. And Ofcom helps make sure that coroners get the data that they need.
It helps support what she's asking for.
Well, I think the government is looking into it, isn't it?
But it won't help me. It will help newly bereaved parents. So the data, so the data bill will help newly bereaved parents, so the data can be released.
Okay, let me go over this one more time about it's a different thing, but it's about the same topic, about the hypocrisy. Okay? These are probably the same people who are upset that they don't have access to their children's data, who also are proponents of the idea of parents not having children's data at school when they want to talk about certain topics about their life, or if they want to take certain medicines that their parents wouldn't have given them at home, or if they wanted to have certain birth control measures that their parents wouldn't have approved of because they don't want to promote that. They're all about parents not having data then because, gosh, we don't want life. We don't want more life on this planet. I'm saying that in the opposite mindset. But you see what I'm saying? The hypocrisy. She's complaining that she didn't have access to her kids' data, but at the same token, these are seriously I'm not saying she is. I'm just saying the same type of people that will agree with her are the same type of people that will also say parents shouldn't have the data of their kids when they're in the care of the state, which is the other lady back there. So, because they're on board with that, the hive mind, right? The hive mind. The problem was that she didn't have control. She didn't set controls over her kid with giving him a phone that can access the internet and such like that. That wasn't the problem, or the fact that he had a phone at all. And she sent him to a place where, kids weren't raised really well. None of that was the problem. No, the problem was she didn't have access to his data. So you know what? None of us should be denied the state of having access to their data in the hive mind.
to coroners.
So not historic
Because
cases.
Jules has had his inquest, I don't have access to that, so I'm applying to the High Court to redo his inquest. We spoke before about this, about
Yeah, we
it's going to
have.
cost me £86,000 to get to the High Court to get my child's data.
And that's ongoing, that
yeah,
appeal.
for me to find out
Is there
why he
something
died.
flawed about a 13-year-old signing anything to do with data? Shouldn't it be that, you know, somebody over 18, ideally a parent or a carer or a guardian, has to be part of that?
Well, look, there are some companies now, Meta's done this, for example, where for younger teens,
Again, she's pointing at the companies. She's pointing at the companies, not the parents. She's pointing at the companies, putting all the responsibility on the companies. None of the responsibility on the parents. Because that's not what their goal is. This is going to be a technocratic, global hive mind set. Okay, it's going to be through mega technology that they're going to be ruling and having access to your even thoughts in the future. You watch and see if that ain't right.
teenagers, they can't be on social media without having parental consent. So it's, you know, some of this is beginning to move. But in terms of the regulation, what we are absolutely requiring is proper age checks to Richard's,
And what
to
are
Richard's
those
questions
age checks?
earlier.
They're very difficult to
Well, it's,
do, aren't
look,
they?
the technology is getting better and better.
Right.
So what we'll be
Yep.
what we'll be firming up in January, and we'll be coming out on this in, you know, in another month, is that if you've got children on your platform, then you're going to need to have a proper, effective age check at aged 18, and that can use a biometric check, so it can scan your face and guess your age. And actually, that technology is getting really good now.
Digital ID, guys.
There are a number of other things that you can.
Okay, sorry, I was pausing to listen to see what was going on. It sounded like that was concerning there for a second in the background.
Can do. And a lot of people say, oh, what about privacy? What about, you know, data storage and stuff? That's important. We think it can be done. You know, if you get practical about this, an awful lot can change.
But that's for 18-year-olds. What about the
That's at
13-year-olds?
18. Well, then the question of age 13 is really important. And again, you know, we are absolutely clear that if platforms have got a minimum age of 13, which most of them do.
Look, she was not looking at them. Hold on. That's an EAM. Okay. So listen, look at her, man. She's not even looking at them in the eye because she knows, right? And then she switches to the eye when she got through the hard part. She knows what she's saying.
That if platforms have got a minimum age of 13, which most of them do.
Like, what is she looking at? What is she looking at? She is looking somewhere. Not, I don't know where she's looking at. She ain't looking at her. She's looking at her. She's like, look at me in the eye.
And again, you know, we are absolutely clear that if platforms have got a minimum age of 13, which most of them do because they're required to under a different bit of law, it does get quite
GDPR.
complicated, exactly, data protection law, then they need to be following their own terms. But to be honest, that is not quite as strong in the Online Safety Act at the moment. Our primary focus is aged 18 because we think all teenagers need a different experience.
And just coming back to a broad question to finish with Dame Melanie. Obviously, the tech companies are speaking soft-honeyed words to this initiative. Yes, of course we want to cooperate. Yes, of course we'll do whatever is necessary. Well, we've seen where voluntary cooperation's got them up to now, got us up to now. Do you think actually is your gut that you're going to have to wield the big stick, actually inflict these
Yes. I guarantee you, she's going to nod her head yes. Look at this.
fines before they actually get the message?
For some companies, yes, we're gearing up for that. But I hope that many in the industry, and you know, there are some people who do want to change, but I hope that many in the industry will do this the easier way, which is by making the changes. We're
Change, okay, she means conform. Because it's the hive mind, okay?
seeing some good engagement, but next year is all about action, and that's what we're looking for.
Well, good luck with
Next year is all about action, guys. You heard it.
it. I think in terms of the initiatives, in principle, you've really got everyone behind you. Who wouldn't want to see?
Okay, at least he's providing some comedic relief. Everybody's wanting. Oh, everybody's behind you.
everyone behind you. Who wouldn't want to see this?
We just got a couple of mentions, haven't we, from social media?
Well,
you sort of summarised it anyway. Yeah.
You know what? Nobody's allowed to say anything differently. Seriously. They're going to get in trouble. That's how strict it is over there.
A spokesperson for Snapchat has been on to us. They've said, we're supportive of the goals of the UK's Online Safety Act and its focus on child safety. TikTok.
Okay, this is the testimonials, guys, okay? Like, every sales page has this. They have the testimonials. Oh, you'll read the reviews, right? Oh, this product was so good for me. This service was so good for me. And this is how. This is what you're hearing now. Now you're at the testimonial part of the ad. This is a well-written ad.
Focus on child safety. TikTok told us we've been supportive of the Online Safety Act since its inception. Good. Well, let's see what happens in 3 months.
I guess the truth is whether they then
Make some
deliver.
changes.
Yeah. Now, look, if you've been affected by any of the issues we've been discussing, you can find advice and support at itv.com/helplines. Thank you very much.
Thank you both very much.
Okay, so yeah, that's where we're at, guys. You know, and it comes right back up to here because listen. This is where we go into Amos, okay? Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord God, when I will send a famine on the land, not a famine of bread or thirst or water, but a famine of hearing the word of God. Hearing. How are you going to hear? Well, you're going to be able to hear because today, anyway, you're able to hear the Word of God and hear His Word online, almost anywhere you go. Okay, that's going to start to be everything is going to start to be putting people in a corner. Okay, this is a push. This is the first push of putting everybody in the Western civilization, and you're only going to see this in the West because the East is already half communist anyway. They're actually used to that kind of control measure. But the thing is that this is the beginning of when they're going to start cornering people that will find the Bible, and believe me, many people are starting to come out more than ever and say things about the Bible like, you know, it's hate speech and stuff like that, you know, like it's got hate speech in it and stuff. It's weird, okay? But, you know, true Christians of good faith will not go through this video with their fist fighting through their way through this, okay? They're going to get on their knees and fight like a man in prayer, letting God go before them in their struggles and battles. Build up your faith, surround yourself with others that have faith in person and online, especially while you're able to speak. Mature yourself to the point of turning the other cheek and loving and even praying for your enemies. Let the intolerant people reveal themselves with acts of force. Okay, be separatist in that mindset, because we Christians around the world, we're going to reveal our character with love, peace, and truth. Okay, build your faith up to endure until the end, until the return of Jesus, walking the way that is straight and true. Okay, because Jesus is coming soon. And listen, I just want to thank you if you're finding yourself feeling curious and watchful of the current events as they unfold into the fulfillment of the end times biblical prophecies, while you're wanting to gather online with people of similar interest who wants to give and receive hope, encouragement, and build the kind of faith that it takes to endure until the end, until He returns, then please consider finding and joining us wherever we're at. The link's in the article. I'll post the article in the description area of this video, and I would greatly appreciate a like, follow, and subscribe. Greatly appreciate that, because I would love to be able to go live when there's breaking news. And you guys have a blessed day, and thank you so much for watching this if you made it to the end. I am amazed. Okay, so anyway, thank you.